No matter what's going on in the world, there are always discoveries to be made. Those discoveries might be made by scientists, archaeologists, or just members of the public going about their everyday lives. We always have an eye out for amazing discovery stories, and when we find them, we bring them to you in videos like this. Enjoy! In August 2022, Scott Overland was sat inside a restaurant in Rehoboth Beach, Pennsylvania, USA, with his family, about to enjoy a shellfish meal. When he was served his clam and peered inside it, he was astonished to see a stunning purple pearl looking back at him. At first, he thought it was either a bead or perhaps something that had accidentally been dropped into the dish by the chef. Scott almost didn't make this discovery at all, as he was about to send the dish back to the kitchen because his wife didn't like the bell pepper garnish. Pearls usually form inside the shells of living oysters. Pearls that form within other shellfish are far rarer, and the purple shade of this one makes it rarer still. The rules of finders keepers appear to apply in this case, so the pearl has stayed with Scott rather than the restaurant. He now plans on taking it to be appraised by an expert, where he's likely to find that it's worth several $1,000s. That more than pays for the meal he had to buy in order to find it. The latest of NASA's rover vehicles to reach Mars is Perseverance, which touched down in 2021. It recently took a picture of the Martian surface that caused confusion and excitement on Earth. Just what is the stringy object in this image? Is it hair? Is it an alien creature? Might it just be string? The latter of those options is the most likely explanation. NASA thinks that it's debris left over from the day the rover landed. To be more specific, the agency thinks it's a piece of Dacron netting. The netting is used in the thermal blankets that protected Perseverance when it made its descent through the atmosphere of the red planet at speeds approaching 12,000 miles per hour. Other images taken from the vicinity show the shattered back shell of the rover, which was designed to break up on impact, and did so in spectacular fashion. The presence of the netting actually poses an issue for NASA, as they now need to double-check Perseverance's most recent findings to make sure they haven't been contaminated by any other debris that came with the rover from Earth. On August 1, 2022, Mexican weather reporter Isidro Cano Luna took a picture of a strange metallic orb stuck in a tree on the outskirts of the city of Veracruz. Isidro wondered whether it might be a piece of space debris, but experts say that's unlikely. However, nobody's been able to positively identify the mystery object. In the blurry images taken by the weather reporter, the sphere appears to have a pole sticking out of it, almost like an antenna. Luna says that it appears to be made of either metal or very hard plastic, but he didn't want to get too close to it in case it's radioactive. The idea that it might be space debris can probably be ruled out because there are no scorch marks on the sphere. If it had fallen through the atmosphere, it would have been exposed to extremely high temperatures, and so would have been burned. It does look a lot like a fuel tank of the kind that would be used in the rocket stage of a spacecraft, but we have to consider the possibility that it's a hoax. Almost all of us have heard a version of the Nazi gold train legend. The story that says somewhere, underground in Europe, there's a train laden heavy with all of the gold, artwork, and precious jewels that Hitler's Nazis stole as they stormed through Europe. It's generally thought to be a myth, but in 2015, a report came from Poland saying that a team of experts had finally located the long-lost train. The most commonly told version of the story is that the train went into a tunnel close to the border between Poland and Germany in 1945 and was never seen again. Now the location of the train is being given as Wrocław, Poland. Scans taken by ground-penetrating radar appear to show a 300-foot-long train deep below the surface. Based on the scans, the train appears to be armored. That would certainly suggest that the cargo aboard it is valuable. The next step is to dig down and access the train, a process that has moved frustratingly slowly so far. Has the lost gold of the Third Reich finally been found again? Experts still need to do a lot of work to prove it, but the suggestion has got the public excited. In 2017, scientists discovered the tiny fossil of a 500 million year old spiny sea creature with some unusual properties. The most surprising of those properties is that it has a mouth full of sharp teeth, but doesn't have an anus. Despite the fact that it looks and sounds like an alien life form, the scientists who discovered it wondered whether it might be the earliest known ancestor of the human race. In August 2022, we got an answer to that question. Unsurprisingly, the answer is no. The creature, which has been given the scientific name Saccharidus coronarius, was originally assigned to a group of creatures called deuterostomes. The group includes vertebrates. After extensive research, experts have now classified it as an ecdysozoan. Rather than being related to vertebrates, creatures in this category are ancient ancestors of modern insects and spiders. However, every other known creature in the category has an anus. There's a rather disgusting explanation for how the creature disposed of its waste. It came back out of the same hole it ate through. We should be very thankful we're not related to it after all. Humans first settled on the banks of the River Danube hundreds of years ago. In August 2022, we found that the first humans arrived there even earlier than we thought. Archaeologists working in the region have found a treasure trove of newly discovered artifacts, including medieval graves full of jewelry and swords. But they've also found pottery that dates back to the Stone Age. There are even a few graves from the Neolithic era, which have been dated to 5,000 years ago and contains members of the corded ware culture. Prior to this discovery, the oldest verifiable evidence of people living in and around the Geisingen-Gudmandingen district of Tuttlingen came from the year 1273. Clearly, those 13th century residents were late to the party. The corded ware culture, so named because of the decorated pottery they produced, were among the first people in Europe to keep sheep and cows and to farm barley crops. Grave discoveries from this period are exceptionally rare in southern Germany, so it's no exaggeration to say that this find changes the history of the region. We're heading back to the United States of America now. More accurately, we're checking out the bizarre discovery of a so-called strawberry squid off the coast of California. You'll never see this squid if you go swimming in the sea. It lives hundreds of feet below the surface. While these images of the squid might look like CGI, they're 100% real. Yes, even its plate-like pea-green eyes. The scientific name for this species of squid is Histiotuthis heteropsis. It's not a brand new discovery, but they're rarely seen because the only way to find them is to mount a camera on a submersible robot and deploy it to the depths. The part of the sea this example was found in is in Monterey Canyon. It's almost as deep as the Grand Canyon and is one of the largest known submarine canyons on America's west coast. Somewhat rudely, the creature is sometimes referred to as the squinting squid because one of its eyes is significantly larger than the other. There's a good reason for that, though. The large eye looks up towards the surface to search for prey swimming above it, and the smaller eye looks down and watches for flashes of bioluminescence by potential predators or prey below. Coin discoveries are common for archaeologists, but some coin discoveries are far more significant than others. Take, for example, the discovery of ancient Macedonian Greek coins in Romania in August 2022. 68 coins in total were found by an amateur metal detectorist in the small village of Radomiresti. The metal detectorist, who wants to remain anonymous, did the right thing by alerting the authorities. A police expert has confirmed that the coins are genuine and were minted 2,200 years ago. Many of the coins bear an inscription which translates into English as the first region of the Macedonians. The goddess Artemis appears on a bust on the reverse of each coin. The age of the coins, along with their inscriptions, identifies them as products of the first Macedonian client republic. That makes them sound as if they were minted by the first Greek people ever to live in Romania. But that isn't the case. There's been a Greek presence in the country ever since the founding of Greek colonies and trade stations in Dobruja 2,700 years ago. They prospered here until the Romans drove them out towards the end of the 1st century BCE. Finding the wreckage of a crashed plane is often harder than you imagine it to be, even when the crash happens on land rather than at sea. That's why a plane that crashed into a Swiss glacier in 1968 wasn't found until August 2022. Receding ice on the Aletsch Glacier finally unveiled the presence of the wreck in the southwest canton of Valais, stranded between the peaks of Monch and Jungfrau. The wreck is broken into hundreds of pieces, but there's enough identifying material left to determine that this is all that remains of a Piper Cherokee, registration HB-OYL, which was last heard from on June 30, 1968. 3 people were aboard the plane when it crashed, and this is where the story takes a strange twist. Nobody survived the crash, but the bodies of the 3 people, a doctor, a teacher, and his son, were all recovered, having been ejected from the plane. The wreck of the plane itself couldn't be found. The chances of finding the remains of the pilot and passengers but not the plane they were in when they met their fate are incredibly low, but that's what happened in this instance. Very few people enjoy learning mathematics at school. Learning multiplication tables is torture for most people, so perhaps it would bring some comfort to know that children have been forced to endure them for well over 1,000 years. In July 2022, archaeologists in western Japan confirmed the discovery of an inscribed wooden strip at the Tsuruo archaeological site in Kyotengo. Tests carried out on the wood confirmed that it dates to the 8th century. Upon its surface, 35 individual multiplications are written in ink. The calculations include the 8 and 9 times tables along with further seemingly unrelated multiplications. Rather than being used by children, archaeologists think that the strip was probably used by civil servants working out tax calculations. There's no trick to the tables written on the strip. It's just all of the calculations written out in order. There's no way to learn the sums other than reading them, repeating them, and memorizing them. About 80 wooden strips like this from around the same period have been discovered in Japan, which suggests that this method of teaching and learning multiplication tables was fairly standard. How many times have you spent an age looking for something only to find it's right under your nose and has been the whole time? We know a few archaeologists in Iraqi Kurdistan who experienced that in July 2022. They've been excavating a mountain fortress at the site of Rabbana Merkuli. The existence of the fortress has been known about for some time, but this is the first formal archaeological survey to take place there. After a few weeks of digging, they now think that Rabbana Merkuli might actually be the long-lost city of Natunia. The city was also known as Natuni Sarakurta, and until now, the only evidence of its existence was the fact that its name is printed on a small number of coins minted in the region 2,100 years ago. Natun was probably named for Natunisar, founder of the Adabene royal dynasty. Archaeologists have found a relief carved into a cliff face at the site, which matches classical depictions of Natunisar in both size, appearance, and dress. That isn't conclusive proof that this is the city that he named, but the presence of what appear to be barracks and a religious complex dedicated to the Zoroastrian goddess Anahita strengthen the case. Ancient rock carvings aren't rare discoveries in Egypt, but pre-dynastic rock carvings are. In April 2020, archaeologists from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities discovered a diverse and mysterious collection of rock art deep inside a cave system at Wadi al-Zuma in the Sinai. The style of the art is very different from anything that's been found in Egypt before. The cave is high on the side of a hill overlooking a valley and is difficult to access. There's no reason to believe it would have been any easier to access thousands of years ago. What makes the rock art so unusual is that the images are akin to bas relief, projecting out of the surface of the cave walls rather than being etched into them. Almost all of the reliefs are images of animals, including mules, donkeys, mountain goats, deer, and camels. Scientists have detected the presence of fire and animal waste within the cave, suggesting that this might have been where the ancient residents of the area sheltered from the winter with their animals some 10,000 years ago, or perhaps even longer ago than that.
Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.